Welcome to The Explainer. So, today we're looking at something you probably have sitting on your desk right now, or maybe it's just an app on your phone, and we're going to completely reframe how you think about it. We so often dismiss keeping a diary as this casual hobby, or maybe just something we did as teenagers, right? But what if I told you that a simple, structured writing habit is actually a scientifically proven clinical intervention? Seriously. It's a real tool actively used by therapists to heal chronic pain and process severe trauma. I know it sounds like a total exaggeration. Can a pen and paper actually lower your blood pressure? Can the simple act of writing down your thoughts physically alter your immune system? Well, I want you to hold on to that assumption and get ready to have it challenged, because the medical data we're diving into today, it proves that the mind-body connection is way more literal than most of us realize. And honestly, the sheer scale of the impact is just staggering. Back in 1986, researchers Pennebaker and Beal ran this landmark study on what they called expressive writing. And what they found was wild. People who practiced this specific type of writing saw a massive 50% reduction in stress-related doctor visits over the next 6 months. Literally, just 15 minutes of writing changed their entire physical health trajectory. So, here's our agenda to get you set up with a practical toolkit today. 1. The science of journaling. 2. The physical and mental benefits. 3. Processing trauma and pain. 4. Paper versus digital apps. And finally, number 5, how to journal safely. Okay, let's dive right into this with section 1, the science of journaling. To really get this, we have to completely dismantle the myth that journaling is just complaining about your day or tracking what you had for lunch. In clinical psychology, it's known as expressive writing, and the premise from those early studies is actually super precise. You're asked to explore your deepest thoughts and feelings about an emotional or traumatic experience. But here's the kicker. You don't do this all day. You do it for just 15 to 20 minutes over a period of 3 to 5 consecutive days. That structured time frame is absolutely crucial because it stops you from endlessly ruminating while still giving your brain the focus time it actually needs to process heavy emotions. Check out these raw, authentic instructions given to patients back in those foundational clinical studies. Notice the main rule here. Don't worry about spelling, grammar, or sentence structure. The only rule is that once you begin writing, you continue until the time is up. The whole goal is unfiltered emotional disclosure. It's about completely letting go of that internal editor that's always trying to censor our thoughts. Moving on to section 2, physical and mental benefits. See, when you bypass that internal censor, you're actually actively altering your biology. Because keeping things suppressed, that's a physiological stressor. It jacks up your heart rate and actually makes you more susceptible to getting sick. Just look at this data from Beike and Wilhelm. On one side, we've got the self-reported emotional relief. Things like reduced depressive symptoms, falling asleep faster, feeling less pain. But on the objective physical side, we see measurable improvements in lung function for asthma patients, better liver function, lowered blood pressure, and a stronger immune response. Writing literally physically shifts your body out of a state of chronic stress. Which brings us to section 3, processing trauma and pain. Today, modern clinical therapies actually rely heavily on journaling to bridge the gaps between your therapy sessions. Take EMDR therapy, for example. There's this thing called the processing window. It's the 24 to 72-hour period right after a session where your brain is still actively rewiring and reprocessing traumatic memories. Well, research shows that doing structured journaling during this exact window gives your brain a safe outlet for those physical sensations bubbling up, and it can actually accelerate trauma healing by up to 40%. And this brilliantly illustrates how therapists actually log those disturbances using the Tice's log. So instead of writing some sprawling, messy essay, you just break it down. 1, the trigger that set you off. 2, the image that flashed in your mind. 3, the negative cognition or belief about yourself. 4, the emotion you felt. And 5, the physical sensation in your body. It is just a highly organized, practical way to safely contain psychological distress so it doesn't completely overwhelm you. That intense focus on the physical body is also echoed in chronic pain recovery, specifically through a method called journal speak. It's used a lot for treating conditions like tension myositis syndrome. And the goal here is not to just sit around intellectualizing or telling stories about your day. No, you have to focus on the somatic feelings, that physical heaviness, the tightness in your chest, the jittery vibrations. By giving totally unfiltered expression to those bodily sensations, you're effectively signaling to your nervous system that it can shift from a state of threat into a state of safety. And that is what ultimately releases the chronic physical pain. All right, section 4, paper versus digital apps.
So, how do we actually apply all this in our daily lives? Well, there's this pervasive myth out there that using a digital app is somehow, I don't know, less authentic or impersonal compared to a classic leather bound notebook. But science tells us authenticity comes from intention, not the medium. Let's weigh them impartially. Paper offers this beautiful tactile connection. It's a screen free space, and the actual physical act of handwriting can slow down your thoughts and engage entirely different cognitive memory processes. But then you have digital platforms like Rosebud or LifeNote, and they offer incredible modern advantages. They use AI to give you personalized, guided prompts when you're stuck. They can spot hidden emotional patterns over time. They're fully encrypted for top tier privacy, and best of all, they're accessible the second a trigger happens, right there in your pocket.
But you know what? The truth is, you don't actually have to choose just one. A lot of experts suggest a hybrid approach. You might want to use a paper journal at home for that screen-free, creative flow, but then rely on a digital app when you're traveling, or when you need some structured AI guidance to track specific therapeutic goals. The point is, you are totally empowered to use whatever tool helps you maintain consistency. And finally, Section 5, How to Journal Safely. Because this is a clinical tool, doing it wrong can actually cause unnecessary distress. So here are the firm safety guidelines you absolutely must follow to prevent any harm. First up, never deliberately try to re-enter a deep trauma narrative alone. Overanalyzing things without supervision can actually block your brain's natural emotional processing. Second, if you become highly activated, stop. Just set a timer for 5 minutes, write what you feel, and then mentally contain it in a box. Third, please do not do this kind of heavy expressive writing right before bed. It will totally disrupt your sleep. And lastly, remember that a journal is a bridge. It's not a substitute for speaking with a licensed therapist. To get you started right away, here's a quick toolkit of prompts. If you're feeling totally overwhelmed, try a grounding prompt, like, what 3 things can I see, hear, and touch right now? If you want to explore that somatic journal speak method we talked about, try completing the sentence, I feel powerless when. Or you can challenge cognitive distortions by asking, what stories am I telling myself right now that aren't actually true? And if you really want to dig deeper into your emotions, try, I feel angry, but underneath I also feel. But as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this incredibly crucial takeaway from the research. Don't let journaling become a substitute for concrete action. Look, writing for 10 pages about how your boss disrespected you might help you process the anger in the moment, but eventually you've got to pair that internal processing with real-world problem solving, setting boundaries, and actual communication. You now have the scientific proof, the clinical framework, and the safety guidelines to use this amazing tool. The mind-body connection is literally just waiting to be tapped. So I'll leave you with this empowering question. Which modality, a quiet pen and paper, or a secure, intelligent digital app, will you choose to confront your inner narrative today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helps you take that first step.